Yeah, so it's all levels of government, really.
Yes.
It's everything, and just the amount of money going to the feds that goes to the state, all their little buckets of money. Let me just stay on the taxes subject for a minute. The business tax, the corporate tax. Are there any other taxes what's one other tax that you'd really like to look at and either cut, eliminate, change? Is there another tax that you really feel is out of whack here in Minnesota?
On the property taxes?
Well, on any tax, any state tax, sales tax, income tax, you name it.
Well, I think a lot of also I believe our income tax here is too high again. A lot of states like next door don't have your state tax. So there's another thing that keeps driving businesses and people. If you own a business too, you still got to pay that. So you're not encouraging people to move here. They're going to start a business because they got to spend more of their money on taxes for that. We got sales tax. It seems to always want to increase. Whether it be Minneapolis, Hennepin, or other areas are trying to always put forth a bill to be able to do that. But other areas, I guess, I even see it on this. I call them stupid areas, but you might have cable TV, cell, or home phone. Every time I look at the darn bill, there's more and more taxes on there. Federal this and local this and this tax and this tax.
Stay at a hotel.
Stay at a hotel. I work for a hotel. I'm a chief engineer there. And down in Bloomington, and the amount of taxes we have to pay is a lot higher than other states or even the communities around us. So in Bloomington, if you want to stay at our hotel, say if you're visiting, you want to take a vacation here in Wisconsin or South Dakota or North Dakota or Minneapolis, and you want to stay, say, in Bloomington, your tax rate you have to pay at our hotel, let's say, is $100 a night here and $100 over in South Dakota. Well, I should know the number. I think it's like 17%. You're paying additional $17 then per night. And I stay at an extended stay hotel I work for called Residence Inn. And what happens is, if I'm going to be there a month or a year, some of our customers, we have one there 5 years. Okay, add that up. Every day, additional $17 a day. It's going to make a lot of people move or not stay here on the vacation or for business purposes. So that alone is driving people to not invest their money or come here to enjoy themselves on vacation.
Boy, they get you just about everywhere, don't they?
Yes.
Well, let me ask you this. You mentioned education a little while ago about the shift, and I know you got kids in the K through 12.
Yes.
What's your take on, just generally speaking, what's your take on the state of education here in Minnesota? Is it good, bad, ugly? What do you think, just as a dad and as a candidate?
Well, I don't think we're doing quite as well as we should be or we could be. Back in the 70s, I went to school, started in the 70s, put it that way. Didn't graduate in the 70s. I'm not quite that old. But back in the 70s, we were leading the world in education. We were ranked #1.
Minnesota, you mean?
No,
the United States?
The United States,
really? Okay.
we're ranked. We averaged them all together. Currently, right now, in the United States, we're ranked, I think, is math, we're 21st in the world, and on sciences, we're 25th.
Well, I wonder who we're behind.
So pretty much everyone. And so we're trying to complete a more global...
Are we ahead of Zimbabwe?
No, we're not. No, we maybe could be. Yeah. I'm not sure on that one. But, we're not getting a bang for the buck. We've been spending so much more, take inflation away, so much more per kid than we had in the past. I was at one of the schools, I won't name which one, and my community, and I looked on the wall, and they had pictures of all the different teachers, and counselors, psychologists, and all the different special needs. Oh, you put them all together. There was actually more teachers that were, non-teachers than there were teachers on the board. That means we have, the ones that are teaching are the teachers. Shouldn't we have more teachers? If you actually looked at it, you should only have 1 or 2 or 3 maybe counselors or something at school. When I went to school, we had one career counselor, and I don't think we had any psychologists or anything else. Yet we're spending all this money, not in the classroom, we're spending it for other bureaucracies or other departments that I don't think the school district should be doing. We need to focus on the kids. Another thing on that is, why do we continually, if we're in the free market, in the market of the private sector, and if you have a job and you do really well, you get promoted and get paid better. If you're in the school area, or most any government job, you don't have to perform any better. You get the same, basically all unionized, most of them. And so if you do a poor job, you still got your job. Your seniority is critical. And so whether you get paid or if you get moved up, it's all because of seniority. Well, why not put the student first? Isn't it more important for the student to have a good education, or is it more important for the teacher to have a job that's doing a poor job? Why don't we get rid of the poor performing teachers like you would in the normal private sector and continually promote and encourage good teachers, and that they will keep their jobs, and that our kids will be best educated by the best teachers out there, not just because you had a job for 30 years. I mean, I won't say which school my kids go to, but I don't want to get anyone in trouble, but I think it was my second grade teacher for my son, my oldest son. She was known to be the worst teacher in the school. No one wanted her, yet she was second seniority in higher date, and so obviously you couldn't get rid of her, or it's very difficult to. So people, I mean, we talked to other parents around, they said, yeah, everyone tries to make sure they're not in her class. Is that right? Do we want teachers that no one wants, but we have to have them?
Well, we've definitely veered off students first.
Yes, definitely not students first.
You know, and you mentioned there's a lot of bills for teacher evaluation. There's, are you open to more charter schools, maybe vouchers, maybe more intra-district transfer? I mean, are those all ideas that we need to keep going? I mean, we've made some strides there, but it kind of seems to have stalled. Do we need to hit all those things to get the students first?
Yes, I believe we need all three of those actually are areas that we can utilize, but it brings more competition. And when you bring more competition, usually that increases the talent level, because you got to compete now with this school and that school over there. If you're in a private school, if you're sending a lot of kids to private school, now the public school is like, well, we're losing all our kids. We're going to have to make sure our teachers are the best out there. Well, and so to encourage them to come back.
In the private schools, they either get kids or they don't exist.
Yes,
the public school just keeps getting money.
Yes, they get no matter what. So I am for like vouchers and stuff like that, or charter schools, any which way, and actually put a number of them together that gives the kids better choice and the parents a better choice to put their kids in the best school possible, so they can have the best ability to compete globally and not worry about, well, my kid's in a poor school, I have no choice, and we're stuck there. I'm not for that. I'd like to get the kid first and the parents' ability to make that choice, not the teachers or the unions
telling you
where they have to go.
All right, well, let's jump to a couple more. We'll kind of mix it up here a little bit. Let's jump to a little bit more stuff that happened recently. Viking Stadium got passed. I know you're a Vikings fan, but we had that little hodgepodge at the end of the session this year. I don't know all the particulars about the bill personally, but what do you think about, I'll just use stadiums as a generally speaking, because Governor Dayton's trying to get funding for a Saints stadium. There's talk about redoing other ones. I mean, what do you think about that stadium bill, and what do you think about that issue, just generally speaking? Is that where should we be involved in that, or shouldn't we?
Well, that's a tough one. And there were other ways, and I know that the Republicans and other individuals, I don't say they're all Republicans, but they put forth other ways of not costing the taxpayer money to put the stadium together. They chose not to do that. I wasn't there to know for sure all the reasoning behind it. I've talked to enough people on it, but there was ways of doing it that would have made sense for everyone. And that type of bill I would have passed, and I would have voted for that. I'm not for a bill in which we have to forced to pay for something we not even want. You might not be a Viking fan, you might never go to a game, but you're forced to pay for that. And on top of that, what they did was at the very end, they cut of how much money the Vikings were going to have to pay. But doing that, they took away, I believe it was the naming rights of the stadium, which is worth a lot of money. And so actually we lost money. I was talking to some legislators. We actually got on the bad end of the stick on that one. So it was actually a win for the Wolf family, not for the taxpayers. And on top of that, they also shoved in there extra money to go to St. Paul to provide maybe whether it be update the Excel Center, or to also their Saints Stadium there's here about there. They might be doing some work on that. So they were at X amount of dollars for the next, I think, 20 years. Can't remember exactly how many millions, but every year they get it. That's part of the deal.
But from the stadium?
From the stadium, okay. It's going to St. Paul.
Huh.
Does that make a lot of sense to you?
I learned something new every episode, I guess.